This episode is brought to you by Tmpa Charities and the second annual Tmpa Clay Shoot held November 2nd at the Elm Fork Shooting Range in Dallas, Texas, benefiting the Texas Peace Officer Memorial.
And I see at the last minute, I turn left, and we get hit. I don't think I woke up until I heard fire doing their thing. Transported me to St. Elizabeth, and
they had told you the shit passed.
They're like, hey, she didn't make it. And then I passed out.
Welcome back, Blue Grit Podcast. Man, it's been a good week. I'm Tyler Owen.
Clint McNear.
What you been up to, man?
Just got back from Vegas, National FOP Conference.
How was that?
It was good. Congratulations to President Patrick Yoes being reelected.
Yep. And our good friend Joe Grimaldi.
Joe Grimaldi reelected as vice president.
Yeah.
Landslide victory, 2,600 votes to 600 votes. Won re-election.
I heard his speech was absolutely amazing, and we can't probably, because this is somewhat G-rated, but I heard it was a crowd pleaser for sure.
It was a mic drop moment speech.
Well, coming out of Joe Grimaldi, I expect nothing less. Did you lose any money while you were up there?
No, I don't gamble. But day 3, I stopped and got $20 and put it in a slot machine. In third pull, I hit $219.
Well, I talked to our executive director. He doesn't gamble much, he claims. But he did say that I think he was up 2,200 is what he said. Now, he didn't tell everybody that. Now we're telling the entire nation and our Blue Grit family.
We'll just keep it a secret between all of us.
Yeah, so if you guys are needing any money, we know a guy. So anyway, well, hey, I'm glad you had a good time. And, I missed you guys. I wish I was there with you.
Friday, we had a good skeet shoot with Overwatch peer support up in Dallas. Mesquite Police Association took first place. My old boys at Garland PD.
Oh, God.
Garland Police Association took second place. Team Tmpa took third place.
Yeah.
Overwatch peer support. Give them a look, guys. They're a good group.
Yep. And we have the gala coming up September 23rd, the Saving a Hero's Place Gala in Biloxi, Mississippi. So they're sponsors of several podcast episodes. We want to show them some love. So you guys go and hit that Facebook up and show Saving a Hero's Place some love.
Is it gala now that you live in San Marcos? When you were in East Texas, was it gala?
Gala, yeah. Now it's a gala. I'm getting my pronunciation. Shout out to Joe Tovar, New Braunfels.
Oh, wow.
In Atascosa.
Wow.
There you go, baby.
Tutorials are going well.
Trying to take the East Texas out of you because you moved? Is that
okay, so let me just say this. I was called a Yankee the other day. It's the first time in my entire life I was called a Yankee because I live north of the I-20 corridor. Never been called that before in my life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're
I thought that was kind of inappropriate.
They're grooming him down here in Austin.
Yeah.
You're not going to get woke and all that, are you?
I'm not going to get woke. I may get woke up, but I'm not going to get woke. So, anyway.
We got Robbie Campbell on, new fielder up, not new, 6-month fielder up, retired Beaumont PD, Golden Triangle fielder up. Glad to have you on there, Robbie.
Glad to be here. This is cool in here. This is nice. I like it. Yeah. I like it a lot. Yeah.
We got the AC fixed.
Yeah.
It was broke? Oh, man. Broke. The hotel, I don't know if they were pumping in air from the bowels of hell in the elevator over there. I don't know what's going on with that, but it was like miserable. I almost walked down the stairs.
It's hot. Well, it is Austin.
I'm glad to have you on.
Yeah.
Intro our guest, brother.
So I got Gabriel Fells over here. He's a Beaumont officer. He's been with Beaumont for a while. Good friend of mine.
We won't hold that against you, sir.
Yeah. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome to the Blue Grit Podcast, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. How long did y'all work together?
We talked about this last night, but we had a few drinks, so we may not have remembered everything.
It's about 5 years.
Yeah, about 5. I was there for about 10 or 11, and he showed up about halfway through. And he fit right in. He's a good guy. He's a SWAT guy. You could tell. The tight shirt.
Oh, yeah, the smedium. The smedium.
Yeah, I mean, if your pecs ain't pecking, you ain't wearing that.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
I love it. That's awesome.
You can't have a B cup and wear this shirt.
No. I won't be wearing it, I promise you.
I'll pay to watch you put that on.
Maybe after the show.
Deal. Yeah.
I'll pay if you won't wear it.
Oh, God. Well, this is going to be a fun show, I think.
Tell the listeners, who's Gabe? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Nederland, Texas. Immediately after, I graduated high school, I went to the Army because I thought that was a great idea.
For the listeners that don't know where Nederland, Texas is, I happen to know where it's at. Just kind of explain where the terrain is around the Beaumont area, north, south, east, or west.
Nederland's right by Beaumont, and it's a smaller city.
Yeah.
East of Houston, southeast of Houston.
Yes.
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Yeah, it's east of Houston on 10. But you got to take 73 to get down there to it. But it's in the heart of Mid-County. And Mid-County is made up of like Nederland, Port Neches, and Groves, Port Arthur a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's over there. And it's a good little – Nederland's a good place. I mean, they got a really good police department.
Yep.
Kind of blue-collar area, I guess.
Blue-collar, petrochemical.
Yeah.
A lot of tax base from the industry. That's their drive over there is that.
And it does not smell like Buna.
No.
No.
Yeah. Oh, so Buna's got this smell that you drive through.
You're from down there, aren't you?
I'm from Mauriceville, which is close to Buna, but I know what you're talking about because when the wind kicks up, you smell an Evadale is what you smell.
Evadale, yeah.
A paper
Sorry.
mill.
Yeah, paper mill.
And that's when the season changes is when you smell the smell because the wind blows out of the north.
Yeah.
And you're like, geez, Louise, that's terrible.
For some reason, I always get accused
Yeah.
at that city limit sign. My wife always accuses me that something happened, in the truck, and then I didn't roll the window down, and I have to remind her that we are in Evadale.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's bad.
There's no doubt.
Gotcha.
For my friends out there that know me, they know what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
So, anyway, we won't get X-rated. But,
All right.
yeah. So you're from Nederland. When did you start your law enforcement career? You're in the military, and
Tell us about the Army. What'd you do in the military?
I was infantry. I did that for 4 years with one deployment, Afghanistan.
okay, a little bit different than Southeast Texas.
Well, it's a dry heat, different environment. People there are great, they're very pleasant.
It's like being an orange.
Yeah.
Come on. You said people are pleasant, really?
they're pleasant people,
Good to see you. They're glad you're there.
They welcome me with open arms.
Yeah, I'm sure. I sense some sarcasm there. Yeah,
No,
that's
never.
awesome. Yeah. So you're still in the military. What prompted you, or what made you think that law enforcement's the career choice? And
Well, that's something I've always wanted to do, and so I used military to kind of pass the time because I had to wait till I was 21.
right,
So I just used that to pass the time.
Any family in law enforcement?
No. That's just. I grew up like watching like Lethal Weapon and all that, and I was
Yeah.
like, I want to be like that dude. And then I realized that it's not like that at all. But
Mel Gibson or
Mel Gibson.
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
He was pointing at me. Like he wants to be like this dude is what he just, yeah.
well, I didn't know he was pointing at it. I just pointed in our direction. I felt honored, but if
I
you want to
think
take credit for it, that's
Well,
fine.
it's like a no TFO
No, it's
zone.
You favor Mel Gibson now, not when he was in Lethal Weapon.
Right, yeah. That's it, yeah. But back in the day, I was hell on wheels, man. I can tell you right now.
With a mullet, sweet mullet.
Oh, yeah, you got to have it.
It's all about the mullet.
Yeah, it is.
It's coming back too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't have the hair for it though.
I don't either. I lost it. I started working with Clint. I lost all my hair.
I'm following you.
Yeah, there you go.
So transition out of the Army, is Beaumont your first agency?
It is
Go through, Beaumont have their own academy or regional?
regional.
Yeah, LIT, Lamar Institute of Technology, has the academy over there, but Beaumont's there's a lot of instructors that teach there.
Yeah.
And it's a discounted rate sending cops over there for Beaumont or potential cops over there to it.
Gotcha. Spoken like a rep. You a rep for down there?
I've been told I was. I keep getting the paycheck. People keep calling me. I guess
We'll see after.
now.
We'll see after this podcast.
Yeah.
So what year did you go to the academy?
Was that? I think it was 2017. Yeah, it was 2017.
Okay. Did you obviously start off patrol? Where are you assigned right now?
Patrol.
Patrol. But you're on the tactical team with Beaumont.
Yeah, I'm on the SWAT team. I'm an FTO, and I'm also on the honor guard team.
Cool. Very respectable. Honor guard's a good place to be at. I think it's good for everybody to get to go through that.
It's different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of it'll be like a little gut check.
Yeah.
But
Well, and your military background kind of also helps out with that as well. So I'm sure that's
Yeah.
another reason why. Yeah.
So we're leading up to a critical incident you're involved in. So before we get to your worst day on the job, what's been the best day on the job?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to pinpoint that because I thoroughly enjoy the job. It's always something different.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I have to come back to that one.
Want to ride patrol for a while, or do you have a kind of an ultimate goal you're looking at, the promotional process or traffic or CID or?
No, I kind of accomplished everything I wanted so far, because I had like a little 5-year goal.
Yeah.
And I kind of got that before 5 years. So I'm pretty content where I'm at right now.
Good. That's a good way to be. That's a good place to be in a career, is content.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is y'all's SWAT team part-time, full-time?
It's a part-time team.
Okay.
Where are you at in as far as your role within the TAC team, the SWAT team?
Low man.
I mean, like perimeter right now, or
Yeah, I'm perimeter.
okay,
Perimeter and rear guard, I guess, is usually a newer spot.
yeah,
Well, they break it down there. Teams, new people selected for SWAT, they're on the van team, and that's making sure the van's taken care of and everything. If it gets called out for whatever reason, when it gets put back up, everything goes back in its assigned place. And if you run low on flashbangs or things like that, it gets restocked back up. But you have to tend to that, and that's what you take care of. And that van team has its own team leader that they fall under for that thing. And
Like-
once they graduate off of that, after it takes a while,
However many years, yeah.
then you'll be assigned to a actual TAC unit where you're not missing out on all the fun standing around, make sure nobody comes up from behind you.
Making sure flashbangs, hair gel, everything, they have everything they need for a good op.
That's right. That's right.
the fans, because the fans are really important with TAC teams. That way, when they get the right picture, they get their hair blue.
Look, cold water and pizza orders. Yeah.
Hey, but I mean, seriously, that is a huge responsibility because you got to make sure all your shit's lined up, make sure all the equipment's lined up, and it's a huge. That is a huge responsibility because when you don't have it, is when you know it, and the whole team knows it, and then the command staff knows it, and so kudos to you for lining all that stuff out.
So as a SWAT guy, I'm an old guy, and you're newer into this. As the SWAT technique of storm the house is being adjusted, and there's a lot more like surrounding call out. Well, I guess except in Harris County. Harris County did a great job remodeling home recently in the last week. Is that something you guys are navigating as well as the adjustments and tactics that are going on?
Since I've been on the team, I've only been on the team going on 2 years now. And since I've been there, it's been surrounding call out. There's different circumstances that require, whatever. But for the most part, it's just been surround call out and, clear from the exterior and then kind of move in.
Yeah, it's interesting to travel around because older guys, we were all dynamic entry, and when that's all you know, and then that changes, even if sometimes changes for the better, that's really hard. At Garland, we didn't do felony stops. We did the vent window drag.
Yeah.
And at one point, they drew a line in the sand, and on this date, we will do felony stops.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of a car chase, if the only thing you've ever done is run up, smash the window, and jerk them out the window, that's really hard to do. And the first time I had remembered it, like you were going to get in trouble if you didn't do it, I'm halfway to the car, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Yep.
Had to turn around and run back to the car and open the door and be like, all right, now what was that? Okay, you start giving commands, and it's really hard to change. And some of the older guys that have been on SWAT for 20 years, it's a really hard transition to some of the adjusting, and not saying they're right or wrong, but it's really hard when you've done something for so long. And I think there's great reason by some of the adjustments. I do think there's time and place for everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's a benefit to some younger guys that if that's the only way you've known, there's no heartburn of, well, that's not how we used to do it or not how I've always done it.
Yeah, you're not going in and kicking in the door anymore. You're kind of like taking that roll back. I mean, you don't want to intentionally risk officers' lives going in there after dope on a dope warrant or something
Right.
like that. But if there's an active shooter type deal, that's a whole different situation. You got to go for that.
Well, but I think honestly, in our profession, I think that people have viewed SWAT team guys and we joke around about the mediums and the pecs, and you know, I mean,
I wasn't joking about the hair gel.
yeah. But I mean, historically, you've looked at it like, I mean, they've always been looked like the jocks of law enforcement, and that with that realm of thinking, you kind of don't. They're not as smart, I guess, in some aspects as what we've always kind of jokingly, almost like Marines. I mean, I know a couple of Marine guys,
Man.
like crayon eating guys. You
Yeah,
know?
that's not.
Oh shit, that's right, Clint. You were a Marine. And so, but
sorry.
what I find interesting is that, man, you sit down with some of the guys, the tactical operators now, the ones that are planning the ops, the ones that are actually doing the tactical work, and then there's so much more to it. With, I mean, just the simple way you load a vest now with your pouches and how they, I mean, it is all methodical. It's thought out. There's a process to it now, and I think that it's made us safer as a profession. And I think that that's also why you've seen a decline in the amount of tactical officers that have fallen in ops. It has a lot to do with the fact that it's around the call out, obviously, but we got to change the way we think.
Yeah, I agree. We had guests on the other day from Pearland PD, and they're like the premier drone law enforcement organization in Texas, probably in the country.
Pioneers, really.
And 30 years ago, if you would have told me that there's going to come a day where you breach a door and a drone goes in and clears a house while you stand out there on over a rifle, and people are surrendering to drones because they're intimidated. And 30 years ago, I'd have been like, dude, turn the Jetsons off. You watch too many cartoons.
Judge Dredd, you know.
We're not going to send a robot in a house, and if it saves a cop's life, I'm all for it.
But they've got packs now, like on their duty brig, on their belts, where it's
the entry team.
Yeah, specifically for drone batteries. And they drop batteries, you know, along the line. It's just a, you know, we have to change our tactics. We have to change the way we think. So,
Yep, I agree.
kudos to you for taking that on.
Appreciate it.
We need more younger people like you to, you know, get involved with. I mean, I know the tactical and the SWAT shit because of the movies, and that's what everybody really wants to do. That in K9 and be TFOs. You know, everybody wants to be a TFO.
We knew
Not
we'd
everybody
have to bring
can
up
be a TFO.
Not everybody knows what a TFO is.
If you're in law enforcement, you know
Tyler freaking Owen.
That's right.
There you go.
If you can't beat Tyler freaking Owen, it is what it is. So anyway,
Tyler was a TFO on the Marshall Task Force.
I wasn't going to say that, but
He gets lightheaded and almost faints when
he's
he's around TFOs.
Hey,
Or he hears the word TFO.
I will say one thing though. They the TFOs out there, we get there's a lot of they get into bad shit. I mean, a lot. So
Shout out to Dallas Marshall Task Force.
Yep.
Their fast team, and critical incident a few weeks ago, and one of the fast team members there that they lost. Shout out to Dallas PD
showing
family.
you guys some love, man. Lone Star Fugitive Task Force. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to lead up to the critical incident you were involved in. At what point, what date did it kind of happen? How long have you been on? How long had you been with Beaumont PD? And it kind of feel us out on how your day started that shift.
Actually, a better way to explain this can be the day prior.
Okay.
So Sheena, the officer I was riding with,
Okay.
we never got along, like ever. Because you know she's like she's a little thing, right? And she always did things her way, and she didn't really care about tactics or if it was safe. She's pretty fearless.
Yeah.
So I used to jump her butt quite a bit about it. And
Were you her FTO?
Oh no.
Okay.
No. I think I became an FTO probably 6 months prior to the incident, so I hadn't even trained anybody yet.
Okay.
Well, the day prior, you know, me, her, and several others used to work out, to include my wife. We would always work out for our chow, and she'd come up with these horrendous workouts. Again, because she was evil when it came to working out. She liked her CrossFit. So she came up and she was like, hey, she did it like really awkwardly. She's like, hey, do you want to like ride together tomorrow? Like, sure. So come in the next day, and this is around COVID, so we didn't really have shift meeting. And I came in probably I had 5 minutes left. And she sent me a picture of the lineup, and I was like, we're not taking that unit. We're taking this one because that unit's trash.
Yeah.
And she came up there, and she was like, you don't want me to drive? Like, oh, no. She's a horrible driver. She bent 5 rims. trying to get the stuff, you know.
Well, the curbs jump out in front of you in Beaumont. If they didn't know that, people
do.
watching this, they jump out in front of you. So,
Well, I told her, I was like, I didn't bring my phone book from the house, so I don't think you can see over the steering wheel. So,
Yeah.
Did Beaumont typically ride 2 officer squads, or was that just an occasion that y'all just happened to ride?
if we
2
have the
men?
manpower, we'll ride 2-man. But majority of the time, we're single-man units.
Yeah.
But, you know, we go throughout the day, and she's like, I want to arrest people today. I'm like, okay, we can do that. So we go out throughout the day, you know. I think we just made like 1 or 2 traffic stops, and we ended up yanking 2 people out of a car, and they went to jail, and she left her handcuffs at the jail. And then, you know, going throughout the day, I think someone got stabbed, someone else got shot. Typical day in Beaumont.
Typical day in Beaumont. Yeah.
Typical. So, right before we went back to the jail, we got sent to a large house party. And this is whenever I realized, I was like, I could ride with this chick. Went to a house party, you know, I see somebody getting drug into the house because he's like trying to flag me down. And he gets dragged into the house like in a headlock, like straight just dragged. I'm like, that's not right. So I bum rushed into this house, and there's like 20 people in there. They're all yelling at me. I'm throwing people on the ground and stuff, trying to get to this dude. And I turn around, and she's standing right by me, like with a taser out, like just like an old like Western movie, just like, so what do we got? It's like, I'm like, so I grab this dude, I rip him out of the house, and, you know, I'm talking to him. Realized that he was just drunk, and he was upset about his girlfriend breaking up with him. Nothing wild. And there's another guy there that she was, you know, seeing. And so he was just upset about it. But we left there, and me and an old partner of mine got into a big argument, pretty heated, about the fact that I ran into that house and how unsafe it was. And that I realized that was everything that I've always kind of preached to her, like, not to do. It's like, well, my bad, shit.
Yeah.
So I think it was around like probably 1:50 at night. She was like, we need to go back to jail because I forgot my cuffs. I'm like, go figure. Because she has actually left my cuffs at the jail, you know, whenever I let her borrow my cuffs. So we go out to jail, and we meet up with one of her friends who gives her a cat. She's been wanting an orange cat. And he's like, hey, I found this thing near a dumpster. I don't know if you want it. I'm like, I'm going to have a dumpster cat in my freaking car. Okay. Because I'm not a cat person. I have a cat, and I like my cat.
Right.
But I do not like cats. So she goes in there, grabs her cuffs, comes back in, and I'm thinking, surely she's not going to bring this cat in my car. I'm just sitting in the car. And she comes in and has this stupid thing, just, hey, look how cute this thing is. Like,
It's a cat, yeah. It's an alley cat at that.
Yeah, I was like, son of a bitch. Like, so starting to drive back, like driving out of the jail, and this stupid thing is like walking over the keyboards and, you know, trying to walk on me. I'm like trying to like stiff arm it and stuff. The camera footage is actually pretty funny because you see my arm just like straight, like just punch it, like get off me. And when we get up on the highway, you know, this thing had actually worked its way on her neck, like back here, so she's like all hunched over. And then I see the headlights kind of like the last minute. It's what is it, Cardinal MLK around that area. And you know, they always tell you to drive in the outside lane to travel at night. So that's what I was doing, just like I was trained. Well, this dude is also driving in the outside lane to travel the wrong way on the highway. And I see at the last minute, I turn left, and we get hit. And I thought that I blacked out because it just seemed like I did. And, you know, I woke up. And the first thing I see is an 18-wheeler driving by. I'm freaking out. And, you know, I realize I'm on the side of the road. I should be safe. And I'm trying to radio in real quick. All the radios are freaking broke. And then I start trying to reach for her, and with my left arm, because everything on the right side of me was just it was dead. Like I couldn't move my right arm, couldn't move my right leg, so I couldn't like actually reach for her. So I'm just screaming for her, and somehow my personal phone, landed right on my crotch, right? So my phone starts ringing, and I was like, so I see this light, feel my balls shaking, like, what's going on? So look down, sure enough, it's dispatch. They're asking if I was okay.
What prompted them to call, do you know?
I want to say somebody called saying that a unit had been hit.
Okay.
Nobody could figure out what, because the unit was that mangled up. They couldn't figure out if it was Beaumont, Jefferson County. So I guess they GPSed me, and they was like, maybe it's them. So they call me, and I finally give out a location after screaming, because I was hurt pretty bad. Give them the location. They try to stay on the phone with me, and I start like kind of going in and out. And I kind of started telling myself, I was like, you're being a bitch. Just
Stay with it.
like, stay with it. You're being a bitch. Like, stop being one. So I kind of come to a little bit, and then one of my good friends comes up, and he's screaming at me, like trying to like get into the window. He's like punching the window. He's kind of he's a great guy. His name's Bradley Martin. He's a great guy. But had he been in the military, he would have been a Marine. He's kind of a crayon eater. So he goes and grabbed this halogen tool that he bought, bends the crap out of that trying to get me out. He ends up breaking the window, and he told me to close my eyes because, you know, the glass. Well, whenever I did that, I passed out. And he was shaking me, trying to get me wake back up, and I don't think I woke up until I heard fire doing their thing. And so then I wake back up, I see all these lights and everything. And I was telling him, Robbie, last night, if you would have asked me prior to watching the video, or even being told how I got out of that car, I would have told you the front windshield. And apparently that was not the case. They ended up getting the door open, and they ended up pulling me out of the driver's seat. And mind you, I'm thinking Sheena's okay the entire time. I'm just like, she's just knocked out. And they pull me out. A buddy of mine, as they're pulling me out, I kind of start screaming. He thinks he done paralyzed me. He was an ex-Marine, and he's seen some stuff. But so they pull me out. They throw me in the the ambulance. A little comedy relief here. So, and my wife always told me, he's like, you need to stop doing this. I used to go to work, you know, like I would free ball, right? old military trick, keep me nice and cool, you know, get the nice airflow, right? So I get in that ambulance, and they're like cutting my pants. So like I stop them. I'm like, hold on, I'm free balling. I don't need y'all to see what y'all don't need to see
Before you cut too fast.
Yeah.
And Martin was just like, dude, nobody cares that you're free balling. I was like, well, I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, nobody's supposed to see the genitals, man.
Yeah. Don't cut the berries either.
Yeah, don't cut them.
They're not injured.
Yeah.
No, they're there.
Does anyone else know that you free ball at work?
Oh, I haven't since.
Well, they will now.
But this is like a secret you just let out to the world. Did anyone know that you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it was I didn't know it. I worked with you for 5 years, but why would I even know that?
I mean,
Well, you wouldn't, because you're upstairs by the time I started talking to you.
Yeah.
And I
Well, did you tell him you wear tighty whities?
well, he's old.
what is it, Gildian? Yeah. Anyway.
So backtrack a minute. When you're sitting there saying, "Don't be a bitch," you're being a bitch. Is that who Gabe is? Is that where that came from? Is that something from being in the military, being deployed? Is that something from the academy? What?
That's military. You know, when I was in basic, they obviously basic's a lot different now. But there was one day that I was acting like a bitch. I was like, dude, I am done. We're doing like this obstacle course, and we're jumping from that, going to shooting, putting on this however many pound freaking rucksack to go run and do. It's all stupid and just mundane stuff. But I remember just looking down while I was in basic, and I was like, dude, you're being a bitch. And just kind of a little pep talk for me, and I just kept moving forward.
And that popped back in your head years later sitting in your car?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad, just I like to ask the question is, you know, is that you're raising your parents, your training, your military, your police training, and whatever it is, that's a good thing to have at that moment when it's like, hey, suck it up and let's try and keep, you got to stay alive or stay in the fight or whatever the issue is.
Yeah. And, my parents don't know how I was raised. They're just like, I kind of did my own thing growing up. I'm completely different from them. So that was all self-taught. That's just kind of how I roll through.
Right. So you're in the ambulance at this point. You tell them about your underwear situation, and then
Yes.
kind of line out what happens from there.
Well, they gave me this great thing called fentanyl, and that knocked me out. And, I'd like to say it knocked me out, but I still heard the sirens. And, and still in my head, I'm thinking my partner's fine, and I'm fine. Probably have a broken bone. It's not a big deal. And this whole time, I'm like, I hope that drunk driver severely hurt or worse, right? Because you have to be a dumbass to be driving on the wrong side of the road. Like, you really have to be a dumbass.
Yeah.
This was night shift, I'm assuming, dark, middle of the night or something?
It was 2:15
Okay.
a.m.
Okay.
on August 9th.
Y'all were working the fourth watch, right?
Yeah.
Fourth watch. So it starts at 4:30, and it runs till 2:30 in the morning, and it just kind of fills the gap between the day shifters and the midnighters. When they come in at 9. Midnighters doing work till 7, and it kind of fills that gap. What he's talked about out there on Cardinal Drive, that at that time of the night, it's really not a lot of traffic out there. It picks up about 5 in the morning for people going to work to the plants and stuff. And the jail's not far away, but they were actually going back to once they left the jail, they were going back to the police department to end their shift, take care of paperwork, stuff like that.
Damn.
And that's when it happened, at the very end of it.
Yeah, I think they had just called the watch probably 10 minutes before that. So, but, they transported me to St. Elizabeth, and I'm just laying on this bed. And again, I don't know the full extent of what's going on. I'm asking about her, and they're just like, yeah, she's fine. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to do what I normally do, just talk shit. So I have like a group of like a good amount of people just like surrounding my bed. And I'm like, the hell's y'all's problem? What's going on? Like, I'm completely lost. So trying to bring it up, bring the mood up. Like, it's really not a big deal. I'm fine. Sheena's fine. Y'all told me she's fine. So Martin, who's right next to me still, was like, hey, Bubba, you're about to get fat. I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, dude, you're about to be on bed rest for like 6 months. Like, nah, I'm not going to get fat. And another officer walks in. He's a little heavier set. Somehow he's in shape. He's in pretty good shape. He actually runs faster than me. I was like, hey, at least I'm not going to be a fat ass like him. Yeah. And he had just walked in, and I didn't realize it. And he's like, what the fuck? And then I was like, all right, everybody's starting to laugh. So I actually started from the right side of the room, and I just started talking shit to everybody and trying to bring the mood up. Then my wife walks in. She's bawling, freaking out. What are you crying for? That's literally what I looked at, and she just looked at me like, well, I'm sorry I'm crying. Like, gave me that, like, offensive look, like, oh, okay, I'm sorry I care.
Yeah.
Did you know how injured you were or not injured or? No.
I just knew that my right side wasn't working. Even
still at that point?
Oh, yeah. At that point, I still couldn't raise my right arm. The nursing staff wouldn't tell me. I was like, hey, how banged up am I? And she was just like, you're fine. Okay, whatever. So then I'm like, hey, Brad, how messed up am I? He's like, your whole right side's paralyzed. I'm like, oh, you're about to roll me in that room with the dude that hit me, because I'm going to finish it. Right. That's the only thing that's going through my head. He kept on like trying to go back and forth, trying to figure out what was actually wrong with me. But apparently I had like a cracked T3 and then, you know, all sorts of bones broken. Then my dad and my brother show up, still clueless to what's going on. And me being the hothead or level-headed person that I am, before the captain and the chief walked in to tell me exactly what happened, they made the plan to pretty much, as they're telling me what happened, they're going to start putting me to sleep.
Well, I interrupted you. Your wife walked in and was upset, and you couldn't figure out why she was upset. Was that prior to?
That's still
prior to their plan?
Yeah, she knew. She knew everything that was going on.
Okay.
So, yeah, the chief and captain walk in. They tell me, as they're telling me, you know, I'm getting pretty pissed off. I try to lean up a little bit, and then it was just lights out. So
They had told you that she had passed?
Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, she didn't make it. And then I passed out. Woke up probably a couple hours later. The scar on my nose, apparently my nose was like just mangled. So they put me through, you know, reconstructive surgery and all that. I woke up and they were just like, hey, you're good to go home. Oh, yeah.
Were you still paralyzed at that point?
I could kind of move my right leg, and my right arm was still pretty swollen, and I couldn't use it. And I was really confused on why I was getting released from the hospital. Again, me being the level-headed person, you know, we have peer support officers there. And they're like, hey, you know, you can get in this wheelchair and we'll roll you out. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I was like sitting there walking. I was like, I gotta go pee. So I go to the restroom. I'm walking to the restroom, limping to it. Get in there, I pee, and then I'm coming out. I'm like leaning out of the restroom, like, hey, bring that wheelchair. I'm not gonna make it very far.
Yeah.
But no, we made it to our house in Lumberton, and I passed out again, and I was woken up by Lumberton EMS, who they were just like, hey, we weren't supposed to discharge you. You got to go back. Well, that was a fight. I did not want to go back. It was a newer lady that was working there, and she was trying to give me the lauded.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I had this really big vein right here, and I just looked at her, I was like, you got one chance. Well, somehow she still missed. And I was like, pull it out. I was like, I'm done. You can leave. Well, the supervisor comes up, gets it the first time. He's like, I'm about to make you feel really good. And he was not lying. Transport me back, and a few days later, they kind of told me the extent of my injuries. It was more than I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, I had 6 broken ribs, a punctured lung. I had a cracked elbow, which is part of the reason why I couldn't move it. My knee was jacked up, but they couldn't tell me what was wrong with it because they refused to x-ray it. You know, the rip in my nose. Nose didn't break, but, you know, the tissue was torn.
And how long were you in the hospital after you got transported back?
Probably 5 days. You know, her funeral's coming up, and I made it a point that I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to the funeral. So when I got released from the hospital, I put a request in. I was like, hey, I need a belt. I need a holster. And I just need shit for my belt. And they were just like, you don't have to go in uniform. I was like, well, I'm going to. And they brought me a hat. They brought me a uniform. And then, you know, putting that stuff on while wearing a sling, that took some doing. She had to help me, and another buddy I deployed with actually came and visited me. So I couldn't get dressed on my own. And but they dressed me up, and I went to a funeral.
How involved was a lot of the incidences that we talk about that I've been involved in, Clint's been involved in, and even as TMPA's field reps, we are highly, you know, involved with losing an officer. Is just, if no one's ever experienced it, especially the way you did, it's just it's a nightmare. How involved and how impactful was that peer support to have? We've got a good friend, ATO's podcast, is talking about mental health and their peer support program with Dallas Police Department. Can you touch on really their involvement and how crucial it was to you as a person and an officer during this point in time?
And peer support was good. I'm one of those people, if I go through something major like that, I kind of just want to be left alone.
Right.
I was like that overseas. I was like that my entire military career. So I was really short with them, but they were there. There's a detective, Heather Wilson. She was constantly at the house, just checking on me. And mind you, I live in Lumberton at this time, so she's going out of her way.
Pretty good clip. Yeah.
Yeah. So, she checked on me quite a bit. Another guy that my dad actually grew up with checked on me quite a bit, and they were just. I can't just put it on them. The entire department, my supervisors were constantly at the house. Just everybody as a whole was pretty much peer support.
Looking back on it, do you think that you essentially pushing everybody away because you want that privacy? And that's one thing that scares us in the training that we've been to is when somebody does that, it's either a 50-50 chance. Either one, they're going to go deeper into the depression, or they're just allowing themselves, time to heal on their own. And it's kind of hard to read. Clint, you can probably echo on this. You've been in this line of work longer than I have. But it's that from somebody watching somebody heal mentally, you don't know at what point is too much. At what point do you get involved with that person or kind of dive deeper into, because that we're cops. We are designed, we are getting better as a profession, but we are designed to really push people away. And I think that's just the alpha part of this. So I guess looking back on it, if you have any advice or I guess to kind of touch on that, do you think, what advice would you tell somebody going through that? Is it best to continue the route that you were taking with pushing kind of people away and giving your own space? Or do you think you maybe should have been a little bit more open to people being there and opening up about it?
At the time, the only person I was open with was my wife.
Okay.
I leaned on her a lot. I don't know, that's tricky because everybody's built different.
Yep.
So I can't speak for anybody in this room
Yeah.
or anybody that's still an officer right now, but I can't speak for that. But for me, me personally, I wanted time and space because I still couldn't believe what happened.
Yeah.
And for months, I just relived it every day. I was like, could I have done something different? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? Maybe if I turned right, I could have died. And then, she could have kept going. I just kept, going through it. And even watching the video, I was just like, I could have done more.
Do you have direct recall of the incident, or is your recall built around video and stories and your in-car camera? And
So at the time before I watched the video, yeah, I thought I had direct recall. I was actually arguing with DPS while I was in the hospital because they tried telling me that I didn't turn my steering wheel, I didn't see headlights, and I didn't. And I'm like, I know I did that. I know what I saw. I know where I was hit. I don't know why they were doing that, but I was pretty much arguing with them. I kicked him out of the room. Yeah, I still have a pretty good recollection of what actually happened, but the video actually brings forth more because, I was in and out during that wreck. Yeah. And I realized how bad it actually was.
Yeah. Well, and some of that, there may be blips in there that you don't ever recall. I mean, if there's not stuff got on, when you have critical incident amnesia, the severity of the incident and the severity of the stress and the severity of the trauma, some of those scenes from that slide may never come back. And you may wake up a year from now and you remember something else, or it's the body and the mind trying to protect itself, and how the body reacts to stress and all of that it's a weird thing to try and understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, go ahead, Clint.
How long were you off total? How long were you out injured and all that?
3.5 months. I wasn't on the SWAT team at the time, and there was an opening, and I remember Sheena telling me, that day, because I was like, maybe I'm going to wait before I try it again. It was my second attempt. And so I was out for 3.5 months, and she made me promise her that I was going to put back in and just keep doing it every single time it opens up. So there was an opening in December, and I looked at my doctor and I was like, hey, I need to be cleared by this date. And what a lot of people don't know is that I got cleared with cracked ribs. They were still cracked. So I went to this SWAT tryout with cracked ribs. And I think I did decent on the PT portion. It was obvious I was in pain, you know. But I did that with cracked ribs. And, you know, when I went to my interview, I couldn't sit in a chair like this, you know, like I'm sitting right now. I had to, like, slouch. I did not look professional. But I think a lot of them kind of caught on, especially my current team leader. He definitely caught on.
And it's probably good for you to get up, do that anyway, just to have a change of scenery and also to get a change of camaraderie now that you've experienced the loss of a partner, loss of a friend, loss of a colleague, and now kind of shifts your focus on something different than just patrol. So it's probably mentally just honestly probably the best thing for you at that point in time.
Yeah. I didn't get picked for that time, but that's where my mind was at.
Yeah.
So me and my wife actually had a personal trainer, and he sucked. Like he hurt.
Yeah.
He's like, you're going to do this. You're going to do the 300-meter run like five times. Then on the fifth time, you're going to take off, run on your mile and a half. Like, just son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just keeping my mind busy, trying to get back to being physically fit because I did get fat. As Brad told me that was going to happen, I started getting a belly. It was just a different shift of focus at that point in time.
Was it weird getting back in the squad and going back to patrol and hearing dispatch and driving a police car? And
so when I got back, I was forced to ride with somebody for about 2 months. And it was whether it was my supervisor or it was Brad. I rode with him quite a bit. But I rode for 2 months, and within that time, obviously I made an arrest. So I'd have to drive by that point, and that was difficult for about 6 months. When I got my own car back and I got left alone, didn't have to ride with anybody. I actually refused to go to the jail because I didn't want to do it by myself. So I tell other people to take people to jail for me. Like, hey, this person's under arrest. Take them over there, and I'll do the paperwork over here. Just because I didn't want to pass that point, especially at night. And then I got a rookie shortly after all that. And so obviously at this point I have to go to the jail. And we ended up making a late arrest, like around 1:15. And, he's a rookie, so he sucks at paperwork. So I'm sitting in the jail for like an hour and a half. Like, dude, I think it was like a public intoxication arrest. It's nothing wild. But he had never done one, so we were there for a while. So we ended up rolling out around like 2:05, 2:15. And I was like, well, we're going to sit in this here parking lot until about 2:30. And he didn't understand why. I was like, that's what we're doing.
Did he ask why? He probably already knew.
No, he asked why about 6 months later when he got cut loose. He asked why, and I told him.
What impact talking about the first shift, and your wife's, Gabe's wife's with us right now as we're recording this. So the support system that you have is just, it's pretty cool to see that. Not that most wives wouldn't, but you can tell that you guys are close, especially experiencing something as that dramatic. Can you touch on what she felt, that first day, the communication that you guys had, the first day going back to work? I'm sure it's a gut-wrenching feeling to see a spouse walk out the door going back to work for the first time after being off for so long and experiencing what you experienced.
The house was really quiet that day.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk a lot. She was obviously bothered. So my wife is like me. Whenever she's bothered by something, she just wants to be left alone. She's not going to talk. That's why me and her argue the way we do, because I want to know what's going on, and vice versa. If I'm quiet, she's wanting to know. And so I was really focused and nervous about going back to work. So I'm sitting here trying to get my stuff together, and put my stuff on, went to the living room, gave her a hug, and then I walked out the door. I don't know how she felt that day, but I mean, I'm sure it was gut-wrenching for her.
Yeah.
Because, you know, last time I went to work, I almost died.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
She was surprised to hear you say that y'all argue. She told us right before we came on that y'all don't argue. She was surprised to hear you say that y'all argue.
a married couple arguing? No way.
Never.
Especially law
Never.
enforcement? Yeah, not at all. So we've gotten your perspective of kind of what's going on. She seems like the Beaumont officer that we lost that day, like a really likable person. Robbie, you want to touch on kind of what was seeing on the outside, looking in of what was going on, and he was dealing with his own stuff mentally, physically, losing, you know, a partner.
Yeah, when you have a death of one of your fellow officers, brothers or sisters, whichever one, it affects the entire police department. It actually affects the community.
Yeah, the whole
You know,
state.
It does, and it's you know, going to the funeral, everybody's in their Class A's, not wanting to be there for that reason, you know, because we just shouldn't have to do it, but we know that stuff happens. And seeing Gabe walk up in his Class A's with a sling and his wife beside him, his arm was in a sling, he was limping, and how they had the funeral work was at a big church in Beaumont. It was huge, and it was packed with people, and almost a standing room only, if not that overflow. I think there was an overflow portion that was being videoed to, so people could watch. And the funeral procession was long. It snaked through Beaumont. You know, it was neat to see that many people come together in the community for that there is that support out there for cops. And it's sad to see sometimes when we see that, it's a critical incident like that happens, an officer loses their life.
Yeah.
When it happens for us to see that, but we know that they're there. Now, dealing with that I was the president of Beaumont Police Association at that time. I was worried about the other officers, the officers that went out there, you know, Martin and the other guys that was out there that were close to him that saw that. And I wanted to make sure that they were taken care of too, because that'll get in your mental as well. And you need, you know, mental health is, and I talked to this, I did legal calls the other day, and I was talking with an officer that cops, we let our own ego get in our own way and we don't seek help ourselves.
Yep.
And he was having issues at home, and I said, look, get yourself straight before you try to straighten someone else out.
Yeah.
And we need to do that. And that was important to me, to let those guys know that, hey, there's help there if you need it. You know, I mean, I didn't go to the hospital the night. No point in me going up there. I got called out. I went to the station, and everybody was up there, of course. And for whatever reason, people think that we need to buy food when someone dies. Like, nobody wants to eat, but you do it anyway. We went and bought a bunch of pizza, and it sat in the kitchen down there for 2 or 3 days. I mean, it's something that we do, but working through that throughout the week and in the upcoming weeks and months, it does get easier over time, but you can't forget what happened. Yeah. And you can't forget that officer that sacrificed. Mm-hmm. And Gabe here, I think this is his first time he's ever told his story about what happened. And that's why I think that other people out there that experience something such as his could benefit from this. Like, I can get past this. I can move forward. I could do what I want to do. If I set my short-term goals and set my long-term goals moving forward, I could do this. And I think it's good. But the department healed, and we moved on. They just revealed so all the officers that killed in the line of duty at Beaumont, there's a bust inside the lobby of them. They just revealed the one for Sheena a couple of weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago.
It was last week.
Yeah. Last week?
No, you're right. It was 2 weeks.
It was a couple weeks ago. And it's hanging on the wall out there. So it's a nice gesture to do that, but it's something to remember. And you got to look at the other side of this. Her husband lost a wife, you know, and family member. So it goes just beyond the police department and the partner thing. You lose somebody. That was a true tragedy all the way around, because Sheena was a very nice person. She was upbeat. She'd walk in a room and glow it up. One of those personalities that you seek. And when someone walks in, it's just kind of like that magnet, like you go to them just because they're fun, you know it's going to be fun. Yeah. I never worked with her. I was off the streets when she showed up there. But listen to people talk about her. It was like she was small, but she could handle her business. I mean, she could get down when she wasn't afraid.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
So, bad guy go to prison, bad guy get killed in the wreck?
Well, unfortunately, he didn't get killed, but he did go to prison. He sat in jail for like 2.5 years before we actually had trial. They had a backlog because of COVID.
Yeah.
He got sentenced to 20 years for her, and then I pretty much had to accept a plea deal for mine, which was just 20 years concurrent. So he already had 2.5 years time served. He's trying to appeal that.
Did you have to testify at trial?
I did.
How's that?
That was rough. Because obviously I had to retell my story, but in further detail and defend, why I didn't see these lights, why that cat was not a distraction.
Why you should have to defend driving on your side of the street?
Oh, yeah, I had to do that. I popped off on that defense attorney pretty bad, saying because, most cops don't really wear seatbelts, and he was just hitting on that hard. And he's like, well, it's illegal to drive without a seatbelt. And
It's illegal to drive on the wrong side of the road also.
That's exactly what I said. And they pretty much, he was like, I'd like that to be stricken.
What's interesting about that too is the fact that Sheena had a cat, and y'all were just being normal people, fulfilling your job duties as cops. I mean, obviously she had a heart for pets, right? But my wife's not as kind of cats if she hates cats. But I mean, I've got so many girlfriends, that I grew up with, and even colleagues to this day that love animals. And she
hates cats, but she's okay with you having so many girlfriends.
Well, yeah, I mean, let me clarify that. Girlfriends, yeah, I do not have any side chicks, but she was just being human, and I think a lot of the humanizing the badge, we do good on it now of highlighting things that cops do on a daily basis, such as take the local kid within our community a bike, or bring the alley cat back home and give her a better life. I mean, that's essentially what she was doing was being a person, being a real person.
Oh yeah.
So. And it's just bullshit that a defense attorney, of course, he has a job to do as well, is trying to actually highlight that against her and against you. So
the Senate. I'm sorry about that, Clint.
Nope,
the sentence, when he was sentenced to 20 years, it really pissed a lot of people off. In Beaumont, there was a lot of cops that were mad. I mean, I was one of them.
Yeah.
And we were there watching the trial from a remote location at the courthouse because the courtroom's full. And family members and things like that. They really didn't want a lot of cops in uniform in there to begin with, which I think is shitty.
Scary. That'd be scary.
Yeah, intimidating. And I'm like, come on now. But when they rolled out with that, 20 years, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But what can you do about that?
Yeah.
You
went to Academy in 2017?
I did.
So what would Gabe in August 2023 tell Gabe in 2017 if you could go back and talk to him, knowing what you know now, what you've been through, what you've done, seen? Doesn't even have to be about this incident. Just knowing everything you know now, if you could go back to 2017 and look young Gabe in the face, what would you tell him?
That loss is inevitable. It can happen. Because, you're going through the academy, you hear these stories about officers going down. You're like, that's not going to happen to me. So I just prepare myself for that and do what I'm still doing right now, which is every day you're going to learn something.
Yeah.
And just stay humble with it.
Yeah.
Best way to be, man. Best way to be. Well, I've number one, on behalf of Tmpa, me and Clint and you coming on here, man, thank you so much, because I think stories like this need to be told. You give hope, and you might give somebody, that one person that hears this, because, man, that if Gabe can do it, I can do it. And that's one thing that me and Clint, talking to Joe King and the ATO podcast family, that's one thing that's inspired us to be more, appealing to the mental aspect of this, is that, when people hear these stories out there, it gives other people hope. So thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for sharing it with the world.
Yep. Appreciate you coming up.
Absolutely. Robbie?
Yeah.
Have you guys watched any of the Blue Grid episodes?
I listened to the podcasts, but I didn't know you had a YouTube page.
Yeah. So
We both have a face for radio, so the audio version's probably a lot better than the video
absolutely,
version.
Absolutely. You want to do the questions? We have some rapid fire questions.
Yep.
And I hope that seeing Robbie's a kiss ass. I've only known him for about a year now. And so I hope that you answer these correctly.
He's a hardworking, great employee.
What?
He is.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Kiss ass.
What the hell does that mean?
All right, you ready?
Nothing TFO.
Oh, yeah.
You ready? Best cop movie or line from a cop movie?
Go first.
Go first.
Yeah.
It'd be Die Hard. It's not only a cop movie; it's a Christmas movie. So
There
Die
you
Hard.
go.
It is a Christmas movie. Yeah.
That is that was a big debate.
It's a great Christmas movie.
Yeah, you see, she doesn't agree with that.
I'll do one. I won't tell you the movie. You should probably know it. I'll just come up with the line. I'll take a Dr. Pepper and a Diablo sandwich and make it quick because I'm in a hurry.
Hell yeah, Smokey and the Bandit, baby. Chill, eastbound and down. It's the best damn. Not before your time, though.
It is.
Yeah.
Every time that show comes on, I don't care what I'm doing.
I
I'm
don't
watching
care.
it.
Yeah, that's right. I'll call in sick to work.
Yeah.
No offense. To watch the Smokey and the Bandit if it comes on.
There is no way you came from my loins.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Best police vehicle all time.
Well, I can only attest to what I've driven.
That is a great preface to the answer. That it's the only answer that you know. It doesn't mean it's the all time. That's a great way to preface that question.
But my favorite one was the old Chevy Tahoes. The older ones, not the bus. I don't really care for them.
The new bubble style. Yeah, the older bubble style.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Crown Victoria. There's no other car like that. So when your ass is in a bind and you're on the ground, you can hear the sirens. That's conditioned to hear that stuff. But when you hear the engine,
The roar.
the roar is distinct. Like the cavalry's coming, and that's the. I wish they would kept making them.
I don't know why they didn't.
I don't
I
know.
liked you before, but now I absolutely love you.
That's-
So, thank you so much for saying that.
But yeah, it was a great car. I enjoyed the car. We call them war wagons all the time.
That's
because
right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could buy one today, make it in 4-wheel drive, that's what I'd have for a vehicle.
that's the redneck in you. That's the East Texas, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Donk is what I like to call them. All right. We probably end the show now. Clint's upset. Busy work.
What year did you get in police work?
1995.
I was 4.
Thanks. Really?
So were Caprices? Were there Caprices back then?
Oh yeah, at the sheriff's office. Yeah,
Did you drive one?
I did.
And you like a Crown Vic better than a Caprice?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now back then the Crown
we'll
Vics
talk
were the Crown Vics were square body, the big ones then.
We do have employee evaluations coming up.
Oh yeah, I need to adjust that.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
No, he has to evaluate us next.
Oh no.
Yeah, but that's
we'll
okay.
Work on that. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Drink of choice.
Jameson.
Oh, that's no shit after last night. Yeah, yeah. I could have answered that for
On
you.
a rock, neat, Coke.
On the rocks.
On the rock.
Oh, Four Roses single barrel, small batch.
Yes.
You tried that?
I tried that when we were somewhere. It is bueno, and I had forgotten the name of it.
After the meeting we had at RDA in February.
Yes.
We went to a restaurant and then a place beside it.
You need to
got some-
text me that name because I had it that night and it was amazing, and I could not remember the name of it
Yeah.
again.
Or I got a bottle of it in the house I go to every time. Anytime I want to just wash the dirt out of my mouth, after a long week.
After driving a Crown Vic.
Oh God, the shit's getting deep in here.
That was probably the Chevys because the air conditioner wasn't working. You
yeah,
had to roll
that's
the
right.
windows down.
That's
So,
right.
yeah,
you had to
got-
blow the windows out.
You don't need air conditioner in a rocket.
No. Oh God. Well, shit's getting deep in here right now, so we might as well end this on a positive note. You got anything else, Clint?
Nope. Shout out to our brothers at Austin PD.
Yeah.
It's a dumpster fire in the city of Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Straight dumpster fire.
Yep. They just announced that their chief is retiring in the either end of September or middle of September, and then they've got the cluster going on with the Travis County DA with Jose Garza, and then just shit show. If you want to call anything a shit show going on with the Austin City Council. They've one city council member. I will show her love every day of the week, Mackenzie Kelly.
Shout out Mackenzie Kelly's a
That's
rock
right.
star.
thank you so much for your continued support of law enforcement and your being a pioneer there at the Austin City Council, because the rest of those people, God help them. And if they need police, they need to call a crackhead.
And you can't blame the chief for bailing out of the airplane with no parachute. He's like, screw this. This is what cracks me up about this, and we're side trail. I'm sorry. Austin has Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, and San Francisco as an example for the last 3 years of what not to do.
Yeah.
And here we are.
They still keep doing it. Yeah.
They still keep doing it.
If I could have any words of advice in the words of Kevin Lawrence, anybody in law enforcement in Travis County, get out while you still can, now that Garza's announced his reelection. So we will continue the good fight and be there when we can and be the voice of Texas law enforcement like we always are. But, man, Austin PD's got a uphill battle, and we're going to be there shoulder to shoulder with them as much as we can.
Prayers for APD.
Yeah. Yep. So you guys stay safe. Always pleasure. Thank you again, Gabe, for coming on.
Yep, it was awesome,
Robbie, show some love to Beaumont PD. And as always, God bless you, and may God bless Texas.